This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Shopify. Starting a business is a big deal, but Shopify does make it easier. All the tools you need to launch are already included and ready from day one. You can easily use Shopify's templates to get a stunning site up and running fast. No coding experience needed. And you can also customize it to fit your brand specifically. Shopify checkout means more customers actually buy, and returning ones can do it in a single click. Having your checkout optimized at launch is huge. You put so much into this moment, it needs to be ready to go right away. And if you do have questions, Shopify has a built-in assistant sidekick ready to help build, troubleshoot, and keep moving. There's no shame in asking your sidekick exactly what to do. All you need is the idea. Shopify handles the rest. Start your free trial at shopify.com/justice. Start your free trial at shopify.com/justice. That's shopify.com/justice.
Determined to make the rest of summer the best of summer? LL Bean has clothing and gear designed to do it all. Like sun-washed apparel that feels broken in from the start, rainwear for every surprise rainstorm, hand-sewn boat shoes, and of course, the iconic boat and tote, made right here in Maine to carry all your summer essentials since 1944. LL Bean, be an outsider. Visit llbean.com to learn more.
Voices for Justice is a podcast that uses adult language and discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics, including violence, abuse, and murder. This podcast may not be appropriate for younger audiences. All parties are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Some names have been changed or omitted per their request or for safety purposes. Listener discretion is advised.
My name is Sarah Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Today I'm discussing the case of Molly Miller and Colt Haynes. In July 2013, 17-year-old Molly Miller and 21-year-old Colt Haynes disappeared after a high-speed chase ended on a remote back road in Love County, Oklahoma. The driver walked out of the woods, but Molly and Colt never did. For the next 13 years, their loved ones refused to let their names fade from the public's memory, and in early 2026, that perseverance led to a major breakthrough. But the question of what happened to them remains unanswered. This is the case of Molly Miller and Colt Haynes. It's the night of July 7th, 2013 in Carter County, Oklahoma. 17-year-old Molly Miller and 21-year-old Colt Haynes are in a 2012 Honda Accord driven by 22-year-old James Con Knipp. He goes by Con. Molly had known Con for a while, but Colt was a newer friend. According to Molly's loved one, she'd only met him about a week earlier. Why the three of them were together that night is still unclear. What we do know is that at about 10:46 p.m., Con pulls into a convenience store parking lot in Wilson, Oklahoma, where two officers were sitting in a patrol car. And for some reason, Con begins doing donuts in the gravel parking lot, throwing rocks and debris towards the officer's vehicle. And when the officers turn their lights on, Con takes off. With Molly and Colt still inside the car, Con sped southbound on Highway 76. Police chased him as he drove into the wrong lanes and reached speeds reportedly as high as 120 miles per hour. According to a statement Wilson Police Chief Kevin Coley gave to KXII News, Captain Parsley with the department got so close to Con's Honda that he was actually able to tap the vehicle. But the chase crossed into Love County, where Con turned onto a gravel road that led into a dark, remote, and heavily wooded area near property owned by his family. The officers were struggling to see through the dust that was being kicked up. Then Con made visibility even worse by shutting off his headlights. With no streetlights and almost no visibility, officers lost sight of the Honda near Oswald Road and Long Hollow Road. Then Love County Sheriff Joe Russell called off the chase. But Con kept driving. He eventually crashed into a fence and still kept going. Pieces of the car began to fall off, he hit another fence, and then the car finally stalled out. At some point, Molly and Colt got out of the car and away from Con, but exactly how this happened has been reported in a few different ways. In one version, Molly and Colt run out of the car, most likely when he hit the fence, and Con continues to drive on. In another, Molly and Colt remain in the car until it stalled out, then they all get out and walk away. Con started walking back home, but for some reason Molly and Colt stayed behind. Even though we don't know for sure how or why they became separated from Con, we know that the two of them were eventually left alone in the woods that night based on the phone calls they made. At 12:57 a.m., Molly's cell phone makes a call to 911. Dispatch records show that it only lasted 5 seconds and was silent on the other end. When the operator tried to call back, there was no answer. There was no follow-up. No officers were sent to the area where the call came in. After this, a series of calls were made from both Molly and Colt's phones. At some point, Molly called her best friend, who was asleep and didn't answer. She called another friend who did answer, but they were running late for work and couldn't come help. A few people reported answering calls from Molly that would either cut out or drop entirely. Some of these friends said that they were asking for rides and water as they were starting to get very dehydrated. In the end, none of Molly's calls led to anyone coming to help. Colt was also able to talk to some friends. During one of these calls, he said that he and Molly had run from the car and hid in a ravine. He also said that he climbed a tree to get a higher vantage point to see their location, but then he fell from it, broke his ankle, and the bone was sticking out, leaving him unable to walk. And reporting in the Oklahoman states that he also told one friend that he was coughing up blood. Now, 4 of Colt's friends did come to help in the early morning hours of July 8th. They were on the phone with Colt as they honked their horns and flashed their lights, but Colt said he wasn't able to see or hear them. They looked for hours without any sign of either Molly or Colt. Now, it turns out that they were in the same general area, but on a completely different road. And these friends say that they got back in their cars and went straight to Con's house to get answers. When they got there, he didn't let them in, but apparently he insisted that he knew nothing. He told them he didn't know where they were. Colt was still on the phone with one of them, who passed the phone over to Con to let the two of them speak. Even with this, they claim that Con refused to help them. The last outgoing call on Molly's phone was around 9:33 a.m. Then at 9:39 a.m., her phone shut off entirely. Only 20 minutes later, at 9:57 a.m., Colt's phone shut off too. Whether the batteries died or they were intentionally turned off by someone, we just don't know. Either way, the phones went silent, as did Molly and Colt, who were never heard from again. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Hers. Losing weight is one thing, but keeping it off is where it gets really frustrating. That's why Weight Loss by Hers now offers access to the FDA-approved Wegovy pill and the FDA-approved Wegovy pen. Wegovy is designed to help you lose weight and keep it off. If you're not familiar with Hers, everything is 100% online. They'll connect you with a licensed provider who will determine if treatment is even right for you. If prescribed, your medication is delivered right to your door. No insurance necessary. And it doesn't stop there. Weight Loss by Hers goes beyond medication by offering access to 24/7 messaging with your care team. And they have tons of in-app lifestyle and nutrition tips, like recipes, meal plans, fitness videos, sleep content, and more. If you're looking for a personalized treatment plan, I definitely recommend checking out Hers. Ready to reach your goals? Visit forhers.com/crime to get personalized, affordable care that gets you. That's forhers.com/crime. forhers.com/crime. Weight Loss by Hers is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk AS. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit forhers.com. This episode of Voices for Justice is sponsored by Quince. Summer always makes me rethink what I'm reaching for every day. Lighter fabrics, better materials, pieces that just feel good the moment you put them on and look effortless. That's why I keep coming back to Quince. They They focus on high-quality essentials like breathable linen, soft organic cotton, and washable silk. It really is a great balance where everything feels elevated but also easy. Quince has beautiful pieces like 100% European linen pants, dresses, and tops with styles starting at just $32. And everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Basically, they work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. My summer uniform at this point really consists of linen. I'm either in a linen dress, linen shorts, or for a little more sun coverage, my linen pants. And of course, I'm pairing it with some sandals, my favorite Quince sapphire necklace, and my brown Italian leather bag that goes with everything. Elevate your summer wardrobe. Go to quince.com/justice for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/justice for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/justice. On July 8th, Molly's family doesn't know about any of the events that have transpired. Not the high-speed chase and not the phone calls for help. They just know that they haven't heard from her, so they call the Love County Sheriff's Office to file a missing persons report. And according to them, when they spoke to Sheriff Joe Russell, he was very dismissive. Molly's cousin, Paula Fielder, who has been extremely outspoken in the media, later told True Crime News, quote, "Joe Russell refused to take the report. He said it wasn't his problem. Just by his actions alone, and the fact that he wouldn't take a police report, it was pretty quick we figured out this is something more than just Molly missing." End quote. Molly, who is again 17, so technically a missing child, was listed as a runaway, even though it's unclear why the sheriff came to this conclusion. This was also confirmed by local reporter Maureen Kane with KXII News. She told the Up and Vanish podcast that in the days after Molly and Colt went missing, she contacted Sheriff Joe Russell, who didn't give her any information besides saying that Molly was a runaway. But that same day, again July 8th, really just hours after Molly was making those calls and Colt's friends came out to try to help, one of the friends Molly called spoke with a deputy at the sheriff's office to tell them where Molly told her they were at before they went missing. And this deputy happened to be one of the officers following Con's car that night. This seems to be when members of law enforcement and the public began putting together what actually happened. Though how much action the sheriff's office took immediately after this is unclear, and it doesn't seem like anyone from that department even contacted Colt's family. Over the next few days, his older sister Monique tried reaching out to Colt with no answer. She also had no idea what was going on until she hears about everything from one of Molly's cousins. Then, on July 14th, she files a missing persons report for Colt. So really, both of these families are just piecing together whatever they can from whoever they can, while we seem to have a sheriff's department who is seemingly uninterested in really investigating. And these families do what we've seen far too many families do when their loved ones go missing. They go search themselves, but they don't find anything. Luckily, just when it seemed like investigators had nothing, they finally found the one piece of evidence that could tell them where Molly and Colt had been. On July 21st, 2 weeks after the disappearance, law enforcement conducted a search around Long Hollow Road. Even though they didn't find Molly or Colt, they did find the car that brought them there. Con's Honda Accord was found in rough condition in the spot where it had stalled. A deputy at the sheriff's office later told it couldn't happen here. The car was processed as a crime scene. It's been reported that no blood was found in it. And if anything else was discovered, that hasn't been made public. And during all of this, Con Nip just isn't talking to anyone. Now, how hard anyone at the sheriff's office was trying to speak with him is unclear. But the silence made room for rumors to begin to spread about Con and his cousin, Sheriff Joe Russell. Yes, you guys, not only was this the same sheriff that called off the police chase on Con Nip, Love County Sheriff Joe Russell is also Con Nip's cousin. Which may explain why he was so emboldened to basically taunt the police into engaging in a high-speed chase with him. Now, apparently Con Nip didn't have the best reputation in town, and he had intentionally egged on police officers into car chases multiple times, but had never faced any legal repercussions for it. There's also another connection and theory I haven't told you about yet. Some have speculated that Con, Colt, and Molly were together that night because they were doing drugs or planned on buying drugs. See, Con and Colt didn't really like each other. The mother of Colt's son, a woman named Katie, was actually Con's ex-girlfriend. Katie gave an interview to the Up and Vanish podcast, during which she said that Con had been incredibly abusive to her, which Colt was aware of. Because of this, Colt didn't like Con. When asked why she thought they might have been together that night, she said she believed it was drugs. And this sentiment was shared by Colt's sister Monique. In March 2026, Monique gave an interview to the show It Couldn't Happen Here, like I told you before. During it, she was asked why she believed they didn't call 911 again after the first attempt. And she said she thought it was possible that they were doing drugs that night, and they might have been concerned over getting caught with them. Colt's family has said that he did have a history with substance use. He'd started using drugs in his teen years, which led him to spending some time in a juvenile detention center. But once he was released, he got clean, met Katie, and together they had a son. Unfortunately, at some point, the two of them broke up and he began using again. Like so many families dealing with addiction, Colt's loved ones saw both versions of him. They saw the young father who got clean, trying to rebuild his life. And sadly, they watched the addiction pull him back in. As for Molly, her family has stated that she recently began hanging out with people who may not have been a great influence on her. Before any of this happened, Molly was the kind of teenager that people describe as someone who could become friends with just about anyone. She was a dancer, played basketball, and by all accounts had an infectious personality. Which is why her family noticed almost immediately when things started changing during her senior year. That's when she began skipping classes and fighting with her mom, Melissa. Her parents have also said that this group included Con Nip, whom they considered part of the crowd that they were concerned about. However, Melissa has also said that she knew Con and his family and wasn't really worried about Molly spending time with him. So, like I always say, take all of that for what you will. But as I mentioned earlier, Molly and Colt only knew each other for about a week, so this really changes things. People began to wonder if Con had done more than just abandon his so-called friends in the woods, and if his cousin, Sheriff Joe Russell, knew about it. Some even questioned if the sheriff had actually called off the chase as a way to protect Con, rather than actually keeping his deputies safe. Over time, the speculation grew, while the sheriff did little to reassure the local community that his office could handle the investigation. But Con was going to answer for his actions.
And we're live on match day as Doug reaches for a buffalo wing. He's got it! Oh, and he's gone for a can of Pepsi too! What a finish! There's no doubt about it. It just tastes better. Match days deserve Pepsi.
If data management is slowing down your business, you need the Intuit ERP. If one entity is here, and one here, and one here, and one here, you need the Intuit ERP. If scaling your business feels like starting over, you need the Intuit ERP. Intuit Enterprise Suite is the AI-native ERP solution that consolidates, migrates, and automates, all in one place. Learn more at intuit.com/ERP.
When the Oklahoma State Highway Patrol learned about the fence that Con had run into that night, they opened an investigation into the hit and run. This is where the public finally starts to get some answers. Even though Con still wasn't giving any information about that night, the OSHP agents are still able to obtain cell phone records. They showed that Molly's phone pinged off of a piece of land adjacent to the property owned by the Nip family, and it was about 100 yards away from where the car was found. Later, dogs were brought to search that location. It's been reported that they did get a hit on human remains in that area, yet nothing was recovered. The OSHP investigation didn't lead to finding Molly or Colt. However, it did lead to the arrest of Con and a family friend. It turns out that the car Con was driving that night belonged to a woman named Sabrina, who had reported it stolen. However, OSHP agents discovered that she'd actually given permission for the car to be taken, so she was charged with making a false report and insurance fraud. It's unclear if Con may have had a role in her scheme, but he was still on the hook for the chase. He ended up being charged with endangering others while eluding police officers. He pleaded guilty, was sentenced to 10 years, and was released in 2018 after serving only 4. And really throughout all of this, all the rumors surrounding Con and Joe Russell only grew when the sheriff faced his own legal troubles. In July of 2016, it was announced that Joe Russell was arrested and facing charges that stemmed from an FBI investigation. So let's go into it. According to the indictment, Joe was allowing his son, who lived with him, to keep and use methamphetamine in their home. He was also accused of harboring a fugitive. Allegedly, he allowed his son's girlfriend to live and hide out in their home after warrants were issued for her arrest. I mean, obviously, I don't need to tell you just how incredibly problematic it is for a sheriff to be accused of these actions. This caused a lot of distrust in the public and really suspicion about how Joe Russell handled this case. Around this time, reports began circulating that a grand jury was convened to look at Joe Russell's actions. During it, they found that he had allowed Con, who was supposed to be in jail, to meet with family and friends in a room where evidence was stored. These meetings took place in a deputy's office and were unsupervised. Now, this didn't lead to further charges, but the grand jury did recommend that he be removed from office. So in August 2016, he voluntarily suspended himself from duty, and in October, he finally officially resigned. But in the end, not much really happened to Joe Russell. He pleaded no contest and was sentenced to unsupervised probation for 1 year. He was also ordered to pay around $400 in court costs. At the same time, the court of public opinion was much harsher, and any community trust in him was completely eroded. Now, to be fair, he has publicly denied intentionally mishandling Molly and Colt's case. In 2014, he told KXII News, quote, "Every time I try to do something on the investigation, I was accused of trying to cover something up. So I just took myself out of action. If I get any kind of tip, I call OSBI. You know, not just their family needs closure. My kinfolks, they need closure too, because they don't know what happened to them either." End quote. After all of this, the families weren't just looking for Molly and Colt anymore. They were fighting for someone to actually take their disappearance seriously. Now, at this point, Molly and Colt's case was in the hands of the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation. In 2014, Love County's District Attorney Craig Ladd also made it publicly known that it's believed that foul play was possible, and he implied that Con Nip may be involved. He told K10 News, quote, "Through cell phone activity and witness statements, there's sufficient evidence to prove that they were with him the last night they were seen alive. We strongly suspect that foul play has been involved with Molly and Colt's disappearance. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. But in regards to having sufficient evidence to prove someone's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, we're just not close, unfortunately, at this time." End quote. With so little movement on the case, Molly's family decided to hire their own private investigator. During his time on the case, the PI was very outspoken about how much he was looking into Con Nip and his entire family. And there are some things that, at the very least, can raise a few eyebrows. In July of 2014, the PI told Oklahoma News 9 that he'd been given a 9mm semi-automatic pistol and machete by a member of the Nip family. He also claimed that both of these items appeared to have dried blood on them. Now, he later expanded on that story when he spoke to the Up and Vanish podcast. He says the person he got the weapons from got them from Con's mother. The story goes on to say that Con handed these items to his mom and told her to hold on to them because they would exonerate him one day. Shortly after, for whatever reason, the mom apparently gave them to this relative. That's the story. And the PI said that he handed the gun and machete over to law enforcement. But that's not the only strange situation that brought more finger-pointing to the Nip family. Just 8 months after the disappearance, a strange call came into 911 from Con's uncle, a man named Colby Barrick. It seems like the call may have been placed accidentally, and that the phone was possibly in his pocket. Personally, I can barely make out any of this phone call. But here it is, so you can decide for yourself.
12, 28, 34. Love County 911. I just heard to see. Hello?
Oh, just like playing like can I make Molly do like I pop hot. You got to go for. Calling the lot of I showing that now. Up there. They clear that pop up there on good.
Now, some people have said that the dispatch operator heard Colby Barrick say, quote, "You know you're effing mad. You know you're effing tired. Effing Moxley Lake. A buck knife. Molly Miller. They shot him in the mouth. Right there, I can put my finger all the way through it." End quote. The operator said that she heard the sound of water splashing and 2 gunshots before the line disconnected. She immediately called then Sheriff Joe Russell, and that call was much clearer.
I was just on 911 listening to a 911 phone call. I mean, they were talking about Molly and Colt and, I mean, the girl that was killed and dope and stuff like that. Like, they didn't know that they were on 911. And it come from a pond just north of Long Hollow Road on Oswald.
So your phone cream game ran off you like?
Yeah.
Okay.
All righty. Yeah.
I will the tape run off. I like that today.
Again, take all of that for what you will. And this isn't the last time we heard from Colby Barrick. In 2018, he was arrested on unrelated firearm charges. While in custody, he allegedly told officers that Molly and Colt's body were put in Moxley Lake. Of course, Molly and Colt's loved ones urged officials to search the lake. Even the next sheriff who replaced Joe Russell promised the families that they would have Moxley Lake searched. But as of recording this episode, law enforcement has not followed through. For years, the families never gave up on finding answers. Molly's cousin Paula told KXII News, quote, "As time goes on, it's like it becomes more surreal. As time goes on, it gets harder. And you know, I'm tired. I'm so tired." End quote. But they pushed hard and eventually got national attention on the case. Questions and speculation on what could have happened to Molly and Colt spread far past Love County. But despite all of these efforts, the investigation remained at a standstill. And eventually, in early 2021, the case reached another heartbreaking milestone. In January 2021, Molly's family made the difficult decision to have her officially declared dead. Paula told 2 News Oklahoma, quote, "She was declared deceased on January 13th of this year. Molly's grandpa, who she was very, very close to, died of COVID. I'm heartbroken that he did not get to see justice on this earth, but I'm also at peace with it because I know he's with her now." End quote. But it wasn't over. The same year, the FBI became involved, and in 2022, the Bureau of Indian Affairs was leading the case due to Molly's Chickasaw citizenship and a jurisdictional shift. And of course, Love County was still involved as well. The newly appointed Love County Sheriff Andrew Cumberledge assured the public that Molly and Colt hadn't been forgotten. He told KXII News, quote, "It's going to take new tips or new leads to solve the case. We do still continuously work with OSBI investigators. We receive tips all the time, and we do follow up every time we do receive a tip, and we plan to continue doing that moving forward." End quote. In that same reporting, Paula said, quote, "It's been 9 years and people have grown up. People have gone on to have families of their own. Some of these people have gotten Jesus in their life, and I think it's just going to be a matter of somebody having a conscience." End quote. That same year, Moxley Pond was finally searched, but not by law enforcement. It was Molly's cousin, the landowner, a former FBI agent, and a CSI technician along with volunteers who pumped out the pond over a 2-day period. Now, cadaver dogs did alert there, but it appears that what they found was just some type of fungus. In the end, nothing was found to move the case forward. There were more searches in 2025 that also unfortunately didn't lead to finding Molly or Colt. But little did they know, the biggest break in this case thus far was right around the corner.
Amazon Health AI presents Painful Thoughts.
Why did I search the internet for answers to my cold sore problem? Now I'm stuck down a rabbit hole filled with images of alarmingly graphic sores in various stages of ooze. I can clear my search history, but I can never unsee that.
Don't go down the rabbit hole. Amazon Health AI gets you the right care, fast. Healthcare just got less painful.
Choice Hotels get you more of what you value. Comfort Inn, it's calling your name. Save on the stay. Oh, and free waffles are yours to claim. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
On February 17th, 2026, a massive coordinated search began in Love County. The effort was led by the Bureau of Indian Affairs Missing and Murdered Unit, alongside the Chickasaw Light Horse Police Department, with support from the FBI, Oklahoma Highway Patrol, Oklahoma Department of Corrections, Chickasaw National Emergency Management, the Oklahoma Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, and more. Finally, it feels like this is an all-hands-on-deck situation. Teams searched more than 1,000 acres of rural land near Oswald Road, Pike Road, and Long Hollow Road. But you might be asking what finally prompted this search. Well, officials later confirmed that new leads and landowner cooperation ultimately led to the search of this location. And on February 18th, during that sweep, investigators located 2 sets of human remains in a heavily wooded area that had never been searched before. A month later, those remains were confirmed to belong to Molly and Colt. According to the medical examiner's report, they only found a partial cranium bone belonging to Colt. More of Molly's remains were found. That included part of her skull, hand, leg, and foot bones. It was also indicated that the remains were scattered, which would complicate forensic conclusions. They found that both sets of remains showed extensive environmental exposure, including weathering, soil and vegetation staining, sun bleaching, and the evidence of animal activity. The report concluded that there was, quote, no perimortem trauma identified on any of the examined skeletal elements, end quote. So there were no visible signs of injuries around the time of death. However, investigators also noted something extremely significant. Evidence suggested that a fire occurred in the wooded area where the remains were discovered. So we have partial remains that seem to have been there for a while, and also a fire that appears to have happened. But in the end, medical examiners ultimately ruled that the cause and manner of death for both Molly Miller and Colt Haynes remain unknown. For nearly 13 years, Molly and Colt's families woke up every day wondering where they were. And then that question finally had an answer, but it didn't complete the entire picture. One of Molly's cousins, Misty Miller Howell, gave a statement on behalf of the family to ABC 7 News. Quote, we appreciate the Chickasaw Nation, Governor Anna Tubby, so much for helping us. Molly would have never been found if it wasn't for them. Right now we're a little angry, you know, and we can't help from not being angry. End quote. Even with that uncertainty, authorities made it clear that the investigation is very much active. A Bureau of Indian Affairs spokesperson said in an email to KOSU News, quote, the investigation remains ongoing, and our agency continues to pursue multiple leads. We are working closely with our law enforcement partners and forensic experts to ensure all information is carefully evaluated and verified. End quote. Despite this very recent and pretty amazing update, the question still remains, what happened to Molly and Colt? The truth behind what happened to them is still waiting to be uncovered. And until that truth comes out, this case remains very much open. Which brings me right to our call to action. Please continue to share Molly and Colt's case. While the discovery of their remains have brought long-awaited answers to one question, it also reminds us that the most important ones are still unanswered. Their family spent over a decade searching for them, refusing to let them be forgotten. They organized their own searches, pushed for media coverage, worked with private investigators, and continued speaking out even when it felt like the case had hit a wall. Because of that persistence and the work of investigators, Molly and Colt were finally brought home. Still, this case is not over. So please keep sharing their stories. After all these years, we know that someone knows something. One conversation, one memory, or one person deciding it's finally time to come forward could make all the difference. As a reminder, Molly Miller and Colt Haynes disappeared during the night of July 7, 2013, after a high-speed chase that ended in a remote area near Long Hollow Road in Love County, Oklahoma. Molly Miller was 17 years old and Colt was 21. Both vanished after becoming separated from the driver, James Con Knipp. Anyone with information is urged to contact the Chickasaw Light Horse Police Department at 580-436-1166. But, as always, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted and produced by me, Sarah Turney, and is a Voices for Justice media original. This episode contains writing and research assistance by Jessica Quaz. If you love what we do here, please don't forget to follow, rate, and review the show in your podcast player. It's an easy and free way to help us and help more people find these cases in need of justice. Welcome to the Secret After Show. Our emotional support puppies, Popcorn and Heber, are in the room. Let's go right into the case, you guys. The first thing on my list, of course, is why are we listing another child as a runaway? I'll never stop talking about it. I'm not going to get on my soapbox this time, but I just hate to see it. Of course, also we have another small-town sheriff with a personal connection doing shady things. And I feel like very confident in saying that. What he's been accused of, what he's, pled to essentially is just insane. And I feel like that's something that people who knew Molly and Colt rightfully don't have to shake from their minds. When you have a sheriff that is blatantly corrupt like this, I really think it changes everything and calls everything into question from when they investigated the case. You guys know me, I call out good cops and I call out bad cops, and Sheriff Joe Russell is a bad cop. It's just so crazy to see. Maybe because I'm in such a big city in Phoenix, even though we do certainly, we have a history and some scandals of corruption here. This, the small town sheriffs just hit different. What do you guys think? Do you think that Sheriff Joe Russell hindered the investigation? Because I really, really lean towards that. I also have to say that I do think it's very possible, given what the family was saying and just the weird circumstances of everything, that they probably were doing or buying some type of drug. It makes me feel like, at first, Molly and Colt didn't feel like it was that serious. If they're calling friends, asking for help, as opposed to, repeatedly calling 911, it feels like, again, this is all speculation. Of course, we don't know what happened. But it feels like there could have been some progression through the night. At some point, they get out of the car, they get away from Con, they start calling their friends, asking for help. And then something seems to happen in that period of time before they lose their lives. I don't know. It's hard. This is definitely one of those cases where we have a huge chunk of information just completely missing. But I think one of the things that really drew me to this case, besides my amazing, if you guys haven't noticed, I do have a new researcher and writer for me named Jessica. So outside of her just like recommending this case to me, I think the new update really shook me up. After so much time, there is some movement in the case, and I'm surprised it hasn't gotten more media coverage. So again, I will ask you to share. But let's go on to media discrepancies. I really told you guys it in the episode, right? I told you that there were different stories. And I think that was the biggest thing is people just don't know what happened that night. So the reporting differs a little bit there. Other than that, it seems pretty solid. So let's go right into our heroes of the episode. I'm going to put Molly and Colt's families, and especially Molly's cousin Paula. She is the one that we kept finding quotes from. Paula has been in the media really leading this charge. But of course, as you heard in the episode, there were cousins, we had Colt's sister, a lot of people are speaking out in this case, which makes it honestly easier to report on, so they make our heroes of the episode for that reason. So let's go right into our segment of hope. This is from People, written by Adam England, published on July 6, 2026. The title reads, Missing 4-Year-Old Girl Found Dehydrated and Hypothermic in 4th of July Miracle. Oh, I got emotional reading the headline. Let's hope I can make it through. So it looks like a girl became separated from her family at the park in Tillamook County in the north side of the state on Saturday, July 4th. And this was a big search operation. It looks like it was Tillamook County Sheriff's Office, the County Search and Rescue Team, ambulance and U.S. Coast Guard, and a helicopter. Teams eventually found the dehydrated and hypothermic child 5 miles north of where they started. Despite the girl's ordeal, she was described as being in good condition when she was taken to the nearby hospital. Now, they aren't identifying the girl or the family at this time, so I can't give you that information even if I wanted to. And that's really it. They don't really say much else. They don't tell us how she got there. They don't tell us how they got separated, just that she was found. And I gotta say, it sounds like she was found because they took this seriously from the beginning, which is what we need to see in every single case when a child goes missing. It really does make all the difference. But with that being said, thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.